Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to get into it today?
I am. I am.
Awesome. So today we're going to be looking at a new book, well, new to us at least. It's called Breakfast at the Victory, The Mysticism of Ordinary Experience by James P. Carse. Have you heard of this one before?
Yeah, I actually read this one a few years ago, and it really shifted something in me. I'd love to see what you pulled out of it.
Well, let's jump right into it. So we're working with excerpts today. And right off the bat, Carse kind of throws us into this idea that mysticism isn't something you have to go searching for in a cave or, on a mountaintop.
Right, it's not about escaping the world.
Exactly. He's saying it's right here in the everyday, in those moments we often overlook. And he uses this really interesting example to illustrate this point. The Victory Luncheonette.
Oh, yeah, Ernie's place.
Exactly.
Huh?
So for those who haven't read the book, paint us a picture. What is the Victory Luncheonette and why is it so significant?
Okay, so picture this. A classic New York City diner. The kind of place where you can smell the coffee and bacon sizzling from down the street. It's bustling, crowded full of regulars and tourists alike. The kind of place where everyone's got a story to tell.
Sounds like my kind of place. Lots of energy, lots of life.
Exactly. But what makes the Victory special isn't just the atmosphere. It's Ernie, the counterman. He's this unassuming guy moving through the chaos with this incredible sense of ease. Carse describes him as embodying this state of doing by not doing.
Doing by not doing.
Ugh.
Okay, that sounds like one of those Zen koans that'll leave me scratching my head for days. Break it down for us. What does that even mean in this context?
It's a bit of a paradox, but think about it. Ernie's in the middle of this whirlwind of orders and customers, and yet he's never flustered, never rushed. There's a flow to his actions, an effortlessness that's almost contagious.
I think I'm starting to get it. It's like he's found this stillness within himself, this inner peace that allows him to navigate the chaos without getting swept up in it.
Right. Exactly. And what's fascinating is that this inner peace, this effortlessness, it seems to radiate outwards. Carse suggests that Ernie's presence has this calming effect on the people around him.
So it's not just about Ernie finding inner peace. It's actually impacting the entire atmosphere of the diner.
Right. You walk into the Victory with all your worries and anxieties, and suddenly in Ernie's orbit, some of that weight lifts. It's like he's offering a temporary escape from the samsara, as Buddhists call it, that endless cycle of craving and grasping.
Okay, so we're connecting a New York City diner to ancient Buddhist concepts.
Yeah.
I love where this is going. But here's the thing. The Victory Luncheonette isn't exactly a permanent fixture, is it?
You're right. And that's where Carse brings in this element of impermanence. He describes the Victory being demolished, literally reduced to rubble overnight. Everything that seems so solid, so familiar, gone.
It's almost a metaphor for the fleeting nature of reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
We get attached to these things, these places, these routines, and then poof, they're gone.
And yet what lingers for Carse isn't the physical structure of the Victory, but the feeling of the place, the memory of Ernie, those deeper experiences that touch something beyond the material.
So the building might be gone, but the impact, the essence of the experience that remains, that's a powerful distinction.
Exactly. Carse is highlighting the difference between the fleeting nature of the material world and the lasting impact of inner transformation. He's showing us that the things we often cling to, those external markers of success or happiness, they can come and go. But the experiences that touch our souls, the ones that change us from the inside out, those have a lasting power.
Okay, so we've gone from greasy spoons to deep philosophical concepts. This is why I love these deep dives. But I'm curious, where does Carse take us next?
Well, buckle up because we're heading back to Carse's high school days, specifically to the wrestling mat. He tells this gripping story about facing off against this intimidating wrestler named Growler Grashevsky.
Growler Grashevsky. Okay, that name alone sounds intimidating. I'm already picturing this massive hulking figure.
You got it. And for Carse, a young wrestler at the time, Growler is a source of intense anxiety. But here's the twist. Instead of coming up with strategies or trying to psych himself up, Carse becomes totally fixated on Growler, almost obsessed.
Wait, so he's basically stressing out about the guy, but that somehow helps him? I'm not sure I follow.
It seems counterintuitive, right? But what Carse stumbles upon is another expression of not doing. By focusing solely on Growler, his mind is inadvertently emptied of all the usual worries, self-doubt, and overthinking that normally plague him. It's like he enters this state of pure action flowing effortlessly without the usual mental baggage.
Interesting. So from the hustle of the diner to the intensity of wrestling match, he's finding these unexpected examples of doing by not doing. But isn't that concept usually applied to more, spiritual practices? How does he bridge that gap?
Well, that's where a rather unexpected character enters the picture, his cat Charlie. And believe it or not, this is where Carse's exploration of silence and the soul really begins.
Love a cat. Okay,
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
Think about it. We humans, even when we're silent, our minds are usually buzzing with thoughts, anxieties, plans for what we're going to say next. But Charlie's silence, it's complete. Carse suggests that it reflects a deeper connection to being a fullness of presence that we in our constant mental chatter often miss.
Okay, I can see where he's going with this. It's like Charlie's not just being quiet. He's embodying silence in a way that's totally different from how we usually experience it.
Hmm.
But how does he connect this to the bigger picture of mystical experience?
Carse takes it even further, suggesting that this exploration of silence reveals the limitations of language itself. He draws parallels between Charlie's silence and our struggle to capture the essence of experience with words. Even if we could perfectly articulate every thought and feeling, there's still something that remains unspoken, something beyond the grasp of language. He even references Wittgenstein's famous idea about a lion speaking, that even if a lion could talk, we wouldn't truly understand him. It's not about a lack of translation, but a fundamental difference in how we perceive and experience the world.
So he's saying there's this whole realm of experience, this unnameable aspect of reality that we can't fully grasp with our minds. I think I've had moments like that where I felt something profound but couldn't quite put it into words.
Exactly. And that's what's so intriguing about Carse's approach. He's acknowledging that our usual way of thinking, our reliance on language and concepts, can actually obscure our understanding of reality. He's inviting us to look beyond those limitations, to be open to experiencing the world in a more direct, intuitive way.
This is really making me think. Okay, so we've got Ernie's effortless flow in the diner, the wrestler who wins by not thinking, and a cat who embodies pure silence. It's like Carse is showing us how these seemingly ordinary moments can hold these unexpected glimpses of the mystical.
And that's just the beginning. There's so much more to uncover in his work. We'll get into that after a quick break.
Sounds good. I'm ready when you are. Okay, so before the break, we were talking about these unexpected glimpses of the mystical in everyday life, like Ernie's effortless flow at the Victory Luncheonette or Carse's wrestling match where he wins by not thinking.
Yeah, those examples really highlight how those mystical insights can pop up in the most unlikely places, and how it's often about letting go of our usual way of doing things, surrendering to something bigger than ourselves.
Right, like that idea of doing by not doing. It's a bit mind-bending, but I think I'm starting to get a feel for it. But it makes me wonder, how do you reconcile this idea of finding peace and stillness with the reality of suffering? Life throws curveballs, grief, loss. How do those things fit into this whole mystical picture?
That's a great question. And it's something Carse grapples with, too, especially after the loss of his wife, Alice. He doesn't shy away from that tension between the desire for peace and the very real pain that life brings.
Yeah, because it's easy to talk about finding inner peace when everything's going smoothly.
Yeah.
But what about when you're facing real challenges, heartbreak, loss?
Yeah.
How do you tap into that stillness then?
Exactly. And this is where Carse tells a story that I think really gets to the heart of it. He describes the scene where his friend Bill Coffin offers Alice a ride on his motorcycle. A powerful Indian scout, no less. And Alice, being the adventurous spirit she is, jumps right on laughing with pure joy as they take off.
Sounds exhilarating.
It was. But here's the thing. Carse is watching this unfold, and he's struck by his own reaction. He's anxious, worried for her safety, unable to fully let go and embrace the moment.
So he's seeing Alice embody this carefree state of being, this complete openness to experience.
Yeah.
But he's stuck in his own head, caught up in worry. I think we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to be free and spontaneous, but getting tripped up by our own anxieties.
Oh, absolutely. And that contrast between Alice's joyful abandon and Carse's cautious concern, it sets the stage for a deeper exploration of spiritual disciplines and the paradox of seeking enlightenment. Because sometimes it's our very effort to achieve enlightenment that becomes the obstacle.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does he illustrate that?
He uses this really striking metaphor, a thrown football accidentally hitting a portrait of Jonathan Edwards.
Jonathan Edwards, the fire and brimstone preacher.
No.
Okay, that's an image that'll stick with you.
Yeah.
But how does that tie into seeking enlightenment?
Well, think about it. Jonathan Edwards represents this very rigid, almost punishing approach to spirituality, right? And the football, this unexpected chaotic element, it disrupts that carefully constructed image. Carse is suggesting that our attempts to force spiritual growth to follow a set path can sometimes backfire. We end up clinging to the idea of enlightenment instead of opening ourselves to the lived experience of it.
So it's not about following a set of rules or achieving some predetermined state. It's about being open to the unexpected, to those moments that shake things up and challenge our assumptions.
Exactly. And he explores this further by looking at the Sufi practice of dhikr, which essentially means remembrance. It often involves the repetition of certain phrases or prayers as a way of connecting with the divine.
Okay, I can see how that could be a powerful practice.
It can be. But Carse points out that even a practice as beautiful and intention-driven as Dick can become a trap if we become attached to the practice itself. The focus shifts from the essence of remembrance, from that heart-centered connection, to the mechanics of the ritual.
So it's like going to a concert and spending the whole time analyzing the musician's technique instead of just letting the music wash over you.
Right. We get so caught up in doing the practice correctly that we miss the point entirely. And to really drive this point home, Carse brings in a powerful Buddhist teaching. If you meet a Buddha on the road, kill him.
Whoa, okay, that's a little intense. I'm sensing a metaphor here.
Definitely. It's meant to be provocative, but the message is about dismantling our tendency to create idols, to project our desires for enlightenment onto external figures or practices. True enlightenment, he suggests, isn't found by chasing after some idealized version of a Buddha or a guru, but by recognizing the potential for awakening that exists within each of us, right here, right now, in the midst of our messy, imperfect lives.
So it's not about escaping the world or achieving some superhuman state, but about finding that awakened presence within the everyday.
You got it. And this brings us to one of the most poignant stories in the book, the story of Alice's final words. As she's nearing the end of her life, Carse asks her if there's anything he can do, anything she needs. And her response is simply, not a goddamn thing.
Wow. That's so simple, yet so profound. I can only imagine the emotions Carse must have been feeling in that moment.
It's heartbreaking and incredibly powerful. Carse reflects on the timing of those words, the simplicity of them, and the profound meaning he finds in their utter lack of striving. It's like Alice, in her final moments, embodies that state of complete acceptance of being fully present without grasping or resisting.
It's like she's teaching him a final lesson without even trying. That's a powerful testament to the unspoken wisdom that can be found in those quiet, intimate moments.
And it beautifully illustrates that concept of the unnameable that we talked about earlier. The words themselves are straightforward, almost mundane, but the meaning they carry, the experience they point to, transcends language.
Okay, so we've gone from the bustling energy of the Victory Luncheonette to the quiet stillness of Alice's deathbed. It's amazing how Carse shows us how the mystical is intertwined with the ordinary, how profound insights can emerge from the most unexpected places.
And he doesn't stop there. He takes us on a sailing adventure, a culinary mishap, an encounter with a field mouse, even into the realm of dreams. He's constantly challenging our assumptions about where and how we might encounter the mystical.
Sounds like we're in for quite a ride. Where do we set sail next?
Well, Carse invites us aboard his friend Phil's Aryan schooner, the Bon Pêcheur, for an overnight sail on Lake Michigan. Imagine the vastness of the lake at night, the stars blazing overhead, the wind whipping through the sails. Carse is assigned to the night watch at the helm, a task that for him marks a symbolic transition to adulthood.
Ah, the open sea, the starry sky. It already sounds like a setting for a mystical experience, but what makes this night so special?
Well, there's the setting, of course, but it's also about the subtle details Carse weaves into the story. He describes Phil handing him a glass milk bottle full of strong coffee. A simple gesture, but one that holds multiple layers of meaning.
I love how Carse infuses these everyday objects and actions with deeper significance. What's the hidden message in a simple cup of coffee?
It's not just about the caffeine kick, although that plays a part too. The coffee represents a crossing of a threshold, a marker of entering the adult world. Phil, the older, more experienced sailor, is entrusting Carse with this responsibility, this task that requires alertness and vigilance. It's a silent acknowledgement of Carse's growing maturity, his readiness to take on more challenging roles.
It's like a passing of the torch, a recognition of Carse stepping into a new phase of life.
Precisely. And as the night unfolds, the combination of the caffeine and the vastness of the starry sky creates this heightened awareness for Carse. He describes feeling fully present, his senses alive, his perception sharpened.
It sounds like he's primed for a mystical experience.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Well, this heightened state leads him to his first mystical vision. Now, it's not a supernatural event in the typical sense, but a sudden shift in perspective, a profound realization that disrupts his usual way of understanding reality. As he's steering the boat by the constellations, it dawns on him that it's not the boat that's moving, but the Earth. It's a simple but profound inversion of his usual way of seeing things, a shift from an ego-centered view to a more cosmic awareness.
It's like he suddenly sees himself and the boat and everything else in relation to this vast, constantly moving planet. Talk about a mind-blowing realization.
And what's even more interesting is that this realization is triggered by an error. Carse discovers that he steered the boat off course, much to Phil's annoyance. But instead of shame or defensiveness, Carse is captivated by the experience, the way his mistake opened up a new understanding.
So even in error, there's the potential for insight, for a shift in perspective. That's encouraging.
Absolutely. This is something Carse emphasizes throughout the book. He distinguishes between mystical experience, which can be blissful or profound, and mystical vision, which often requires a kind of disruption, a shakeup of our usual way of seeing things.
So we need to be knocked off balance a bit, forced out of our comfort zones in order to glimpse a different reality.
It seems that way. Those moments of disruption, whether they come through challenges, mistakes, or even suffering, can make us more receptive to transformation.
Well, Carse's navigational error definitely leads to a disruption, but I'm guessing it also has some consequences.
Right. Phil, understandably upset about the lost time and potential danger, assigns Carse to galley duty as punishment. It's humbling, forcing Carse to confront his pride and any lingering sense of accomplishment from his earlier mystical vision.
Back down to earth, literally. Yeah. From contemplating the cosmos to scrubbing pots and pans.
Exactly. But even in this mundane task, there's potential for further insight. As Carse is working in the galley, he has a second mystical vision, this one even more profound than the first. He describes seeing Phil in a new light, not just as a skilled sailor or a demanding captain, but as a complex individual with his own inner depths, his own unseen journey.
It's like he's suddenly able to see beyond the surface, to perceive Phil's soul, the essence of who he is. I wonder what triggered that shift.
It's not entirely clear, and that's part of the mystery. But this vision transforms their relationship. Carse's initial resentment fades, replaced by understanding and compassion. It's a powerful example of the transformative power of truly seeing another person, of recognizing their shared humanity, their own struggles and triumphs.
It's beautiful how these moments of connection, these glimpses into another person's soul, can dissolve judgment and open us to deeper levels of empathy.
And that's a recurring theme in Carse's work. He's constantly showing us how the mystical is intertwined with the interpersonal, how our relationships with others can become avenues for profound insight and transformation.
Okay, so we've got wrestling matches, cats migrating birds, sailing adventures, even dishwashing as pathways to the mystical. I'm starting to see the world in a whole new light.
That's the magic of Carse's writing. He expands our awareness of where those moments of wonder and insight might be hiding. And he doesn't stop there. He goes on to tell the story of a persistent field mouse that keeps entering his house, using this encounter to explore different ways of knowing.
A field mouse.
Hmm.
All right, I'm definitely curious to hear where this one goes.
Think about it. A mouse operates on instinct, driven by needs and perceptions that are fundamentally different from ours. We can observe her actions, try to interpret her motives, but we can never fully grasp her experience.
It's like he's highlighting the limits of our rational mind, our tendency to overthink and analyze, and the mystery of a different kind of knowing, one that's more intuitive, more embodied.
You got it. He even connects this to the Upanishadic idea of the mind and the eye of the eye, suggesting a deeper level of knowing that transcends individual consciousness.
It's like he's pointing toward a reality that's beyond our usual categories of thought. A realm where subject and object dissolve, where knowing and being become one.
And this exploration of different ways of knowing leads him to share a fascinating story from the realm of dreams.
Okay, now we're really getting into mystical territory. Tell me more.
Carse describes a vivid dream about his brother David leaving for Dubuque, which in the dream represents this mythical golfing destination, a symbol of spiritual attainment. Carse is left behind, overwhelmed by a sense of loss and inadequacy, realizing he'll never reach that level of mastery.
So it's a dream about being left behind, about feeling inadequate, about longing for something you can't attain. Dreams can be so powerful, so emotionally charged.
Definitely. And that feeling of being left behind triggers a profound sadness in Carse, a sadness that lingers even after he wakes up. But as he reflects on the dream, he realizes it's not just about golf or skill, but about a deeper longing for connection, for love, for a sense of belonging.
It's like he's recognizing that his brother's journey is not about competition or achievement, but about something more profound, something that transcends those ego-driven desires.
Exactly. And this is further emphasized when Carse encounters his brother in waking life. David, who has indeed achieved a high level of mastery in golf, is no longer interested in competition. He's moved beyond that. He spends his time teaching, sharing his knowledge, helping others find their own path.
That's beautiful. He's embodying the true spirit of the game, the joy of playing the connection with others, rather than the ego-driven pursuit of victory.
Precisely. And Carse, witnessing this transformation, gains a deeper understanding of the dream. He realizes that the sadness he felt wasn't just about being left behind, but about resisting love, about clinging to his own sense of separation.
So the dream becomes a catalyst for self-awareness, for recognizing those deeper longings of the heart, the desire for connection that transcends rivalry and competition.
And this theme of self-awareness, of recognizing our deeper nature, continues to unfold as Carse shares another poignant anecdote, this one, about the death of the field mouse and a fishing trip with his sons.
Okay, this sounds like a shift in tone. From the mystical realm of dreams to the raw reality of life and death, I'm intrigued.
Carse describes finding the field mouse dead, this tiny creature that had caused him so much amusement and frustration. It evokes a sense of emptiness, a reminder of the fragility of life. He then transitions to a story about fishing with his sons, Jamie and Keen, and catching a large trout they name Golden Shadow.
So from the death of a tiny creature to the capture of a larger one, I'm sensing a connection here.
There's definitely a juxtaposition. Carse uses these experiences to explore the cycle of life and death, the interconnectedness of all beings. He describes his sons' contrasting reactions to catching and releasing the fish. Jamie is full of empathy, concern for the fish's well-being, while Keen is caught up in the thrill of the catch, the competitive drive to conquer.
It's like they embody different aspects of human nature, the capacity for both compassion and dominance.
And Carse, witnessing his son's reactions, reflects on his own relationship with nature. He contemplates the brutality of killing, the confronting reality of death, and the questions it raises about the origins of life.
It's like he's grappling with the paradox of our place in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
We have the power to both harm and nurture, to take life and to give it back.
And this grappling leads to a powerful moment of connection. Carse describes Jamie releasing Golden Shadow back into the pond, an act of compassion that evokes a sense of completion, of participating in a larger cycle.
It's like they're returning something sacred, acknowledging the interconnectedness of it all.
And this act of release is further emphasized by the presence of a heron, a creature that embodies both beauty and ruthlessness, the balance of predator and prey within the ecosystem.
So from the death of a field mouse to the release of a trout, Carse is weaving together this tapestry of life and death, highlighting the interconnectedness of it all, the delicate balance that sustains us.
He ends this sequence with a vivid image himself standing alone by the pond at night, listening to the sounds of nature, sensing the unseen presence of creatures moving in the darkness. It's a moment of solitude, of reflection, of communion with the mystery that surrounds us.
It's like he's come full circle, from the bustling city diner to the quiet stillness of the natural world, from the pursuit of knowledge to the acceptance of mystery.
And that acceptance of mystery seems to be at the heart of Carse's exploration of the mystical. It's not about finding all the answers, but about embracing the unknown, the unnameable, the reality that lies beyond the grasp of our rational minds.
Which leads us perfectly into the next section about teaching and knowledge, where we'll pick up after a quick break. Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into this next section about teaching and knowledge. I'm really curious to see how Carse ties this into the whole mystical experience thing.
Well, it's interesting because at first glance, teaching might seem like the opposite of the mystical, right? You've got structure, curriculum, facts, and figures. But Carse suggests that there's this unspoken element to teaching this transmission that goes beyond words.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I've had teachers who could explain a concept perfectly clearly, but it didn't really click until I saw them embody it. You know, like they weren't just talking about it, they were living it.
Exactly. And Carse describes this really vividly when he talks about his own experience preparing a lecture on Sartre and existentialism. He's wrestling with these complex ideas, trying to figure out how to convey them to his students. And he hits this wall where language just doesn't seem adequate. It's like he's bumping up against the limits of what can be expressed through words.
It's like that saying, those who know don't speak. Those who speak don't know. There's this realm of understanding that seems to exist beyond the grasp of language.
Right. And he highlights this even further with an anecdote about medical students who record lectures but rarely attend in person. They're so focused on getting the information down that they miss the context, the energy, the unspoken presence of the teacher.
It's like trying to learn to cook by reading a recipe book without ever actually stepping into the kitchen. You can memorize all the ingredients and steps, but there's something about the hands-on experience, the intuition that develops through practice, that you can't get from a book.
Exactly. And Carse suggests that this unspoken element of teaching is especially important in spiritual traditions. Well, it's not just about acquiring knowledge, but about undergoing a transformation.
So it's about transmitting not just information, but a way of being in the world.
Right. And this brings us to one of the most intriguing aspects of Carse's exploration of teaching, the paradox of trying to convey something that can't be fully expressed through words. He describes this moment of intellectual dead calm before a lecture where he feels completely empty, devoid of ideas. And instead of panicking, he surrenders to that emptiness. And in that surrender, a new energy emerges. The words begin to flow. The ideas come alive.
It's like he's embodying that doing by not doing that we saw in Ernie at the Victory Luncheonette, stepping out of the way, allowing a deeper intelligence to work through him.
And that seems to be a key theme running through all of Carse's work. This idea of surrender, of letting go of our need to control, to understand, to define, and opening ourselves to the mystery that unfolds when we get out of our own way.
It's like that quote from Rumi, "Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment." It's about embracing the unknown, the paradoxical, the ever-unfolding mystery. And maybe that's where the true magic lies.
And in a way, isn't that what Carse is doing throughout this entire book? He's inviting us to question our assumptions about where and how we might encounter the mystical. He's showing us that it's not about escaping the world, but about seeing the world with fresh eyes, about recognizing the extraordinary within the ordinary.
And he leaves us with a question that really encapsulates this idea, a question that I think challenges us to rethink our whole approach to knowledge and certainty. He asks, if the birds aren't lost but don't know they're in Milwaukee, does that mean that we are lost? Because we do know this is Milwaukee.
It's like he's turning the whole idea of being lost on its head. Maybe it's our insistence on knowing, on pinpointing our location in the universe that creates the feeling of being lost.
Yeah.
Maybe true knowing lies in embracing the mystery and letting go of our need to be right.
It's a powerful thought, and one that I think we can all carry with us as we navigate this journey called life. Where do you find those glimpses of the mystical in your everyday? What does it mean to you to embrace the unknown?
We encourage you to explore those questions, to look for those moments where your own certainties dissolve, where the ordinary reveals its hidden depths.
This has been such a rich and thought-provoking conversation. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Breakfast at the Victory. It's a book that stays with you long after you've finished reading it.
And we hope that this conversation has inspired you to look for those moments of wonder and awe in your own life, to embrace the mystery, to find the extraordinary within the ordinary.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking. The world is full of magic if you know where to look.